I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Mark, and I've been married to Lisa for about 6 years now. We had what most people would call a good relationship. Nothing perfect, sure, but enough love and stability to keep us going. I deployed overseas about a year ago for what was supposed to be a 9-month stint. That's when everything started to feel off, but I'd be lying if I said I noticed it right away. Lisa, from the outside, was still the same bitchy, sharp-tongued wife I knew. She didn't hesitate to throw sharp barbs at me when I was home on leave. But that was part of her charm, right? Still, I noticed little things that didn't sit right. She was more secretive about her phone, always locking it when I was around. She'd brush it off with some snarky comment about how I was just paranoid. Honestly, I thought it was just the stress of me being away, or maybe her way of dealing with loneliness. But then a couple of weeks ago, I got the most gut-wrenching surprise of my life. I was doing laundry and decided to check the lockbox, something I rarely did, but I had a gut feeling I was missing something. Inside, I found a bunch of her personal notes, old receipts, and wait for it, text messages. At first, I thought they were just friendly, maybe innocent, but as I read more, my stomach clenched. These weren't just friendly texts, they were explicit. They talked about sex, feelings, plans to meet up. And they went on for almost a year. A year. Under the guise of her support during my deployment, she was carrying on with someone else. My best friend, no less. I couldn't believe it. How could she lie so blatantly? How could she betray me like this? It hit me like a punch to the gut. All those late nights I spent worrying about her, wondering if she was okay, and meanwhile she was lying right to my face. And the worst part, I had no idea. I felt numb, frozen, like my brain couldn't process what I was seeing. My best friend Jake, for God's sake, someone I trusted like family. He was supposed to be my brother, and now I found out he had been screwing my wife for a whole year. I must have read those messages 3 times trying to find some mistake or some reason to dismiss it. But there was no mistake, just pure, unfiltered betrayal. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about everything, the moments I missed, the lies, the betrayal. The fact that Lisa, who always played the victim when we argued, was actually the one cheating. And Jake, I never saw it coming. I always thought he was a good guy, solid, dependable. Turns out, not so much. I kept wondering how long they had been planning this, whether she ever cared about me enough to tell the truth, or if I was just some placeholder for her until she found someone better. It's a sinking feeling that I still can't shake off, so I decided I had to confront her. I couldn't go on like this, pretending everything was okay. I needed answers. I needed to know why, how, and what the hell I did to deserve this. I didn't want to lose my mind over it, but honestly, I was furious. Betrayal like that isn't just a slap in the face, it's a blow to your entire existence. I knew I had to face her, no matter how bitchy, how manipulative she might be. I had to hear her lie her way out of this. And that's where I am now, trying to figure out what to do next. I waited until she got home from work that evening. Honestly, I don't even remember what I was feeling at that point, more like a numb blur, like I was on autopilot. My mind kept circling back to those messages, the way she looked at me sometimes with that smirk, the little lies she's told over the years. I was angry, confused, hurt. I think a part of me still hoped I was overreacting, that maybe it was all just a big misunderstanding, but I knew better. When she came through the door, she immediately went into her usual bitchy mode, tossing her coat on the chair and rolling her eyes at me. "What's your problem now, Mark? You've been acting weird all week." Her voice was sharp, defensive, like she was already preparing her excuse. I looked at her, and for a second I saw that bitchy smirk creep back. I felt my fists clench, but I took a deep breath, trying to hold it together. "Lisa," I said, my voice low but steady. "We need to talk about something I found yesterday, and I want the truth, no more lies, no bullshit." She looked at me, amused and annoyed all at once. "What are you talking about? You're reading too much into things, probably just your imagination." She shot me a quick, dismissive smirk. "You always do this, overthink, accuse me of stuff I didn't do." I shook my head. "No, this isn't my imagination. I found your messages, your texts, for a year. You've been lying to me, cheating on me with Jake." I saw her eyes widen for a split second before she quickly masked it. "Oh, come on," she snapped back. "That's bullshit. You're just jealous, or you're imagining things. Maybe you're the one messing around and you're just trying to cover your ass. I couldn't believe her, that she'd try to turn it around on me, that she'd even have the nerve to lie so blatantly. Rage, disgust, heartbreak, they all surged inside me. I wanted to scream at her, force her to admit it, but I knew she'd just lie, deny, manipulate her way out of it. Instead, I pulled out the phone I had kept hidden and showed her the messages on the screen. Her eyes flicked over the texts and I saw her reaction change. She looked a little pale, then furious. "That's not what it looks like," she said, voice trembling with a mixture of anger and guilt. "You don't understand. Jake and I we're just friends. It's support, that's all. You're away all the time. I was lonely and he was there for me." I scoffed. "Support for a year during my deployment." "Don't bullshit me, Lisa. I saw what those messages said. It was sex, feelings, plans to meet up. How can you even stand there and lie?" She threw her hands up. "You don't know what you're talking about. You're overreacting. Jake and we're just friends. I never cheated on you. You're just insecure, or maybe you want to believe the worst because you're gone all the time." I stared at her, feeling my stomach turn. Is this really happening? Is this how she's been lying all along? She looked so confident, so convincing, but I knew better. I could see the cracks in her facade now. She was panicking, trying to keep her story straight, but her eyes betrayed her. "I don't want to hear your lies," I said. "You've been screwing my best friend for a year. You've been lying to me, hiding it all, and I don't know if I can ever trust you again after this. I don't even know who you are anymore." She started crying then, real tears this time, but even that felt like a performance. "You don't understand, Mark. I was lonely and Jake was just there for me. It meant nothing." "It's not what you think. I love you, don't." I cut her off. "I don't want to hear it, just get out. I need some space, I need to think." She looked at me with those pitiful, bitchy eyes, but I didn't care. I was already feeling the weight of betrayal crushing me. I watched her walk out the door, her heels clicking on the floor as she muttered some excuse about being supportive, about how she never meant for any of this to happen. But deep down, I knew she'd lied her way into this mess, and I was left to pick up the pieces of what used to be my life. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying everything. The lies, the betrayal, the fact that I'd trusted her. I kept thinking about Jake, my supposed friend, who had been screwing my wife behind my back all this time. How could I have been so blind? How could the woman I loved do this and then lie her way out of it? I felt like I lost a part of myself, like I'd been punched so hard I wasn't sure if I'd ever recover. After she left, I just sat in the quiet of our house, feeling like I was hit by a truck. Everything was a blur, thoughts crashing into each other. I kept going over the messages, the lies she told, and the fact that she'd been sneaking around for a year while I was risking my life overseas. It hit me like a punch in the gut that I'd never really known who she was. Maybe I never did. She was always bitchy, yes, but I convinced myself that was just her personality, her way of being sharp. Never thought it was a mask for something this ugly. I was angry, so damn angry I couldn't sit still. But beneath that I was hurt, deeply. I thought about all the times I'd come home, exhausted from deployment, hoping she'd be waiting for me with a smile or at least some honesty. Instead, I found nothing but lies. How stupid I felt for trusting her so blindly, for thinking she was my rock. Turns out she was just another player in her own game, using me and Jake to fill some void. The next day, I knew I had to get answers, but I also wanted to plan my next move. I didn't want to just explode and make a scene, though I was tempted. I wanted to be calm, strategic. First thing, I needed to find out how deep this went. Did she have the nerve to lie to my face? Did Jake think he could get away with it? I needed proof. So I took a few hours to gather everything I could get my hands on. More evidence, messages, pictures, anything that could confirm what I already suspected. While I was digging through her phone, I found more messages, some from Jake, some from her still, hidden in different folders she had tucked away. The more I saw, the more I realized how calculated this was. She'd been carefully hiding it, covering her tracks, leaving clues for herself not to forget. I couldn't believe I was so blind, so trusting. Finally, I decided I couldn't just confront her without knowing exactly what she'd said or done. I needed to be ready for her lies, her manipulations. I also reached out to a friend I trust, a guy named Dave who's been around the block and knows how to handle these kinds of situations. I needed someone to talk to, maybe even to help me figure out what's next. I told him everything, and he just listened quiet, then told me to be careful. Because once you realize your wife has been cheating on you with your best friend for a year, everything changes. You start questioning every moment, every word, every memory. In the meantime, I kept replaying the betrayal in my head. How she looked when I confronted her, the way she tried to spin her lies, the fake tears she shed. Honestly, it made me sick to my stomach. That bitchy smirk she always wore, the way she dismissed my feelings, brush off my concerns, suddenly made sense. She had been playing me all along. All those nights I was away, she was out with Jake, probably laughing at how clueless I was. I knew I had to make a decision. Do I forgive or do I cut her out completely? The thought of her continuing to lie, to manipulate, and to hide the truth from me made my blood boil. I kept telling myself I deserved better than a wife who cheated and lied for a year, who betrayed everything we built together. But at the same time, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of loss. I still loved her, or at least I thought I did. That's what made it so hard. Her betrayal wasn't just about sex or lying. It was about trust, about losing the person I thought I knew. I kept telling myself I wouldn't let her see me break. I'd be stronger. I'd figure out my next steps. But honestly, I was scared, angry, confused. I had no idea how to even start rebuilding after something like this. All I knew was that I couldn't stay in this house. Not yet. I needed space, time to breathe, to think, and to figure out if I could ever forgive her or if she'd burned that bridge completely. The pain was still raw, and I knew that whatever I decided, my world had just flipped upside down. Over the next few days, I stayed mostly in my man cave, avoiding the house as much as possible. Every time I looked at her side of the bedroom, I felt this sick twist in my stomach. The betrayal had come so suddenly, so brutally, like she'd ripped out a piece of my soul and left me to pick up the shards. I kept going over everything I knew, trying to find some way to make sense of it, but the truth was, there was no making sense of betrayal this deep. I also started thinking about how she always played the victim whenever we fought. She'd scream, call me paranoid or insecure, say I was suffocating her. She accused me of not trusting her, but she was the one hiding secret texts and sneaking around behind my back. That realization made my blood boil even more. The woman I loved, the woman I fought for, was the one who had been secretly screwing my best friend for a whole year. The thought alone made me question everything about our relationship, about what I had missed, about whether I was just blind or a fool. I reached out to Jake, my so-called best friend, just to hear his side, but I knew what the truth was already. I could feel it in my gut. Every message, every stolen night was a betrayal. I didn't even bother to confront him directly yet. I just wanted to hear how deep this went, how long he'd been lying to me. When he finally responded, he was pretty quick to apologize, but it was all bullshit, just words. I could tell he was trying to save his ass, maybe even hoping I'd forget it all and move on. Not a chance. That same day, I decided I needed to talk to her again, this time with a lot more clarity. I wanted to hear her lying face to face, see if she'd keep up her act or crack under pressure. I also wanted to see if she'd try to manipulate me into believing her support story again. I wasn't going to fall for it. I knew I had to lay everything out and force her to choose, be honest or face the consequences. When she finally came around that evening, I didn't hold back. I told her I knew everything about the messages, the affair, her lies. She looked surprised, then annoyed, then furious. She tried to deny it again, saying I was just jealous, that I was paranoid. She even had the audacity to tell me I was imagining things, that she was only being supportive because she cared about me. That's when I lost it. I told her I'd seen the proof, that I wasn't some fool who'd fall for her lies anymore. She snapped back, throwing accusations at me, saying I was a terrible husband, that I was never around, that I didn't appreciate her. All bullshit. It was her turn to lie her way out of this mess, and she was doing a pretty good job until I cut her off. I don't want to hear your lies anymore, I said. You cheated on me with Jake for a year, and now you're trying to spin it like it's my fault. The woman I trusted turned out to be nothing but a lying, bitchy cheat. I don't know if I can ever forgive you, not after this. She started crying again, fake tears streaming down her face, but I could see the anger behind her eyes. She wasn't done trying to manipulate me, to guilt me into staying. But I didn't care about her tears. Those were just her tricks, her way of trying to control the situation. I knew I had to think about what was best for me, not her. That night I made a decision. I told her she needed to leave. Not just for the sake of my own sanity, but because I couldn't be in a house with someone who betrayed me so deeply. She cursed, calling me a jealous, insecure idiot, classic Lisa, trying to turn everything around. But I was already done listening. As she stormed out, I felt a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief, because I knew a weight was finally lifting. Heartbreak, because I loved her once and now I wasn't sure if I'd ever trust her again. The house suddenly felt emptier, colder. I thought about my future, whether to forgive, to rebuild, or to walk away entirely. Right now, I just needed some space to breathe, to figure out what the hell I was supposed to do after losing everything I thought mattered. The days that followed were the hardest I've ever experienced. Not just because of the betrayal, but because everything I believed about my life shattered in an instant. I kept replaying everything in my mind. Her lies, her smirk, Jake's face when I confronted him. It was like waking up from a nightmare I couldn't escape. I was angry at her, furious at Jake, and deeply disappointed in myself for trusting them both. I stayed in that state of emotional chaos, oscillating between rage and sadness. I didn't want to see anyone, didn't want to talk to anyone. Just wanted to be left alone with my thoughts, trying to process what had happened. I'd look at the house, empty now that she'd left, and wonder if I'd ever be able to live here again without feeling like I'd been punched in the gut every time I saw her side of the bed. One thing kept echoing through my mind. How did I not see it? How did I miss the signs? She was bitchy, yes, but I always thought that was just her personality. I never imagined she'd go behind my back, betray me with my best friend, and then lie so convincingly to my face. It made me question everything I'd ever known about her, about our relationship. That betrayal wasn't just about the sex or the affair. It was about trust, about the core of who I thought she was. I started contacting a lawyer just to understand my options. The idea of divorce was swirling around my head, something I'd never thought I'd say about my wife. But I also wondered if there was any way to salvage this, some way to rebuild trust or at least get some kind of closure. I spent hours on the phone, going through everything, trying to prepare for what was coming next. Meanwhile, I couldn't ignore my feelings of betrayal. Every time I thought about her with Jake, my stomach twisted. It wasn't just that she cheated, though that was terrible enough. It was how casually she lied, how she manipulated her way through every argument, how she played the victim. She acted like she was the wronged one, like I was the problem, not her. That made me more pissed off than anything. Like she had some twisted sense of entitlement that her actions didn't matter because she was supporting herself, or whatever excuse she'd come up with that day. I also started to see how deep her bitchy side ran. That sharp tongue, her dismissive attitude, her tendency to gaslight. She'd always been that way, just sneering and dismissing anyone who questioned her. Now I saw it for what it was, a defense mechanism, a way to hide her guilt. She was so good at spinning her lies, at making herself the victim, that I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But mostly I was just disgusted. One night I sat alone in the living room, staring at the fireplace. I thought about all those years, the plans we made, the vacations, the nights we spent arguing over small things. None of it mattered anymore. The only thing that mattered now was whether I'd ever be able to trust her again, or if she'd taken that away forever. I knew I'd have to decide soon. Was I going to fight to save what was left, or was it already gone? Deep down, I knew I couldn't stay in limbo forever. I had to face the truth. She betrayed me, and I deserved better than to be with someone who lied and cheated for a year. I also knew I wasn't ready to make any final decisions yet. I needed time, space to heal. But I also started planning my next move, whether that was fighting for my marriage or cutting ties and starting fresh somewhere new. What really hit me was how much I'd lost, not just her, but my sense of security, my trust in people I thought I knew. It dawned on me how fragile everything I'd built was and how quickly it could all fall apart. The one thing I was clear on now, I wouldn't let her or Jake get away with it without consequences. They needed to face what they'd done. Whether that meant legal action, emotional distance, or just walking away, I was done being the fool. The betrayal had opened my eyes, and I knew I'd never see my life the same way again. In the end, I made my decision. It wasn't easy, and I knew there would be a long road ahead to heal from all this, but I couldn't keep living in the shadow of her betrayal. I moved out of the house into a small apartment nearby. It wasn't much, but it was mine, my space to breathe, to think, to figure out who I was without her. I cut all contact with Lisa and Jake, blocking their numbers, deleting their messages, and distancing myself from the chaos they'd created. The aftermath was brutal. I lost sleep, lost weight, and felt a constant ache in my chest, but I also gained clarity. I realized how much I'd been caught up in trying to keep the peace, ignoring the red flags and ignoring my gut. Her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulation, those weren't just quirks. They were signs that I'd overlooked, signs I should have paid attention to. Looking back, I see how her entire persona was built on lies. The support, the victimhood, her sharp tongue, all just masks to hide her guilt. She thought she could keep it all hidden forever, but I found her out, and that changed everything. I learned that trust is something you earn, not something you give blindly, and that betrayal cuts deeper than any physical pain. I won't lie, I still get angry sometimes, mostly at myself for trusting her so much, for not seeing the signs earlier. But I also feel a strange sense of relief. I no longer have to pretend that everything's okay. I don't have to wake up every day wondering if she's lying to my face or sneaking around behind my back. I've learned a hard lesson about trust, about betrayal, and about standing up for myself. Now I'm focusing on rebuilding my life. No more excuses, no more hiding from the pain. I've started working out again, reconnecting with friends I pushed away, and trying to find a new purpose outside of that toxic relationship. It's not easy, and I know I'll carry scars for a long time, but I also know I'm stronger than I thought I was. If there's one thing I want anyone reading this to take away, it's this. Never ignore the red flags. Don't justify bad behavior or convince yourself it's just a rough patch. Trust your instincts, because once that trust is broken, it's almost impossible to get back. And if you find yourself in a similar situation, don't be afraid to walk away. You deserve someone who respects you, who's honest, and who values what you bring to the table. Betrayal hurts like hell, but it also teaches you your worth. I've learned that the hard way. And now I'm finally ready to move forward, alone if I have to, but stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever.